Hi, my name is Maisie and I'm an English and Related Literature student at the University of York. I took English literature, psychology and history, and I also took an AS in maths. I took all my science GCSEs, English, maths, further maths, Spanish, history, PE and graphics. The kind of struggles I found with exams was just memorising the sheer content, the amount of content, and also the kind of speed at which exams came at me. I think I remember my GCSEs having 25 exams in the space of 2 weeks, and then for A levels, similarly, 2 weeks and 16 exams. And so it was really kind of having to hone my time management around part-time jobs and other commitments that I had. My exam horror story is definitely walking into the wrong exam hall. I sat down, opened a paper, and it was for chemistry, and I was meant to be sitting AS maths. It was a bit of a nightmare, but managed to get around it and went to the right hall and had to sit it, but just slightly later than everyone else. I set out a timetable for each week. I set out my timetable for every half an hour of every day to ensure that I had enough breaks in between things and to ensure that I was getting all my studying done, as well as all my extracurricular activities, my sports, and my part-time jobs, and making sure that I was including everything and having enough time. So the week in advance on the Sunday, I'd sit down and plan out my next week. I think EasyA would have massively helped me overcome some of these challenges because time management, becomes extra tricky when you have a question and it can't immediately be answered. So if I'd set aside an hour to study for maths and I get stuck on a question after 10 minutes, I can't contact my teacher until the next day, and even then might not get an answer. Whereas EasyA, I could have had an answer to that question within the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then been able to carry on with that hour of study without it kind of being a stressful time and kind of the added pressure of being stuck. Um, Maybe to try and enjoy it a bit more. I think in hindsight, I put a lot of pressure on myself to achieve the highest grades, and that meant that I kind of sacrificed my enjoyment. I still did everything I could outside of work, but was constantly thinking about studying. I think it's important to remember that when you do have time off to kind of play a bit of a sport or do whatever hobby you do, to really enjoy that kind of time away from your study books. My school, there wasn't that many Oxbridge applicants there, so I was doing early Oxbridge applications. It was quite tricky. There wasn't anyone I knew, no kind of family members who'd been to university, nobody I could talk to about what to expect. So it was kind of a new learning experience for me and my whole family. But I reached out to teachers. I would have liked to have someone kind of more my age to reach out to speak about things. Preparing for my exams, I religiously kind of used revision guides and materials provided from school. I would do a lot of practice questions, a lot of kind of setting quotes to memory. That's a lot of English literature. But for my maths and sciences exams, just kept doing past papers and past questions and focusing primarily on the questions that I was, the topics that I was struggling with, to really kind of give myself as much of a push in that direction as possible. Yeah. Well, I think there's a wealth of resources out there. Depends on kind of what you're applying for in terms of what you want to use, but definitely try and speak to people your age that are also applying for that course. So you can do that. There's many platforms through which you can kind of meet other people applying for the same thing. A lot of universities kind of set up their own pages so that kind of applicants can interact. I also did a lot of kind of further reading outside of my degree, my A levels. But yeah, that's what I'd say.